In 2026, college has officially crossed the line from investment to institutionalized scam because the math simply no longer adds up for the average person. Globally, tuition costs have continued to outpace inflation and wage growth, leaving students with debt that often exceeds their lifetime earning potential in all but a few elite fields. We are seeing a great mismatch, where over 42% of recent graduates are underemployed, working jobs that don't even require the degrees they spent years and thousands of dollars to earn. Meanwhile, the rapid rise of AI and specialized skill-based certifications has made the slow 4-year academic model look like a horse and buggy in a supersonic world. When the primary product being sold is prestige rather than practical utility, and the entry-level salary for a graduate is frequently lower than that of a skilled trade worker, the system is no longer broken. It's predatory.
Calling college a scam ignores the global evidence that higher education still produces measurable economic and social returns across most regions. Data from organizations like OECD and World Bank consistently show that, on average, tertiary graduates earn significantly more over their lifetime and have lower unemployment rates than non-graduates, especially in emerging economies where degrees remain strong mobility signals. The underemployment argument reflects labor market transitions, not fraud. Many economies are restructuring due to AI and automation, which actually increases the value of adaptable, theory-grounded education rather than narrow training. Universities also provide infrastructure that short certifications cannot easily replicate: research ecosystems, professional networks, licensing pathways, medicine, engineering, law, and innovation pipelines. Globally, countries like Germany and Finland even subsidize or make college low-cost because they treat it as national capacity building, not a consumer product. The real debate is not whether college is a scam, but whether institutions must modernize delivery, pricing, and industry alignment to maintain their ROI.
That response relies on a sunk cost fallacy, prioritizing historical data over our 2026 reality, where the traditional model is actively collapsing. While the World Bank loves to talk about lifetime earnings, they conveniently ignore that it now takes an average of 18.5 years just to pay off the debt, effectively erasing a graduate's wealth-building potential during their most critical years. Furthermore, the claim that AI increases the value of a theory-grounded degree is being dismantled by the market. In 2026, we've seen entry-level white-collar job postings drop by 45% compared to the 5-year average as companies use AI to automate the very junior roles graduates rely on for experience. Meanwhile, specialized trade certifications in fields like smart HVAC or aerospace avionics are delivering a $448,000 wealth advantage over a bachelor's degree in the first 10 years of a career. When a system charges you 6 figures for a mobility signal that increasingly leads to a dead end, it isn't modernizing. It's a luxury brand selling a product that no longer functions.
That argument assumes a single expensive, debt-heavy Western model, when globally most students do not follow that path. Countries like India, Philippines, and Brazil still see degrees as one of the most reliable ways to move from low-income to middle-income brackets at relatively low tuition costs. Debt payoff timelines are a financing problem, not proof the product itself is fraudulent. By that logic, housing would also be a scam because mortgages take decades. The AI argument actually cuts the other way. When entry-level routine work disappears, the people who survive are those with stronger analytical foundations, communication skills, and domain knowledge, precisely what structured higher education is designed to develop. Trade certifications are valuable, but they complement rather than replace universities, because economies still need architects of systems, not just operators of them. If college were truly a scam, governments and industries worldwide would be abandoning it. But instead, they continue expanding universities because they correlate strongly with national productivity and innovation capacity. The correct framing is that college is uneven in ROI depending on field and country, not inherently fraudulent.
That response ignores a harsh reality. In 2026, the reliable mobility signal has become a distress signal, as the gap between what is taught and what is needed has widened into a canyon. Even in emerging economies like the Philippines, we're seeing a troubling paradox. While overall unemployment is low, joblessness is actually highest among college graduates, reaching over 20% in some regions, because degrees are no longer aligned with the high-speed demands of the modern economy. The idea that analytical foundations protect graduates from AI is being debunked in real time. Entry-level white-collar job postings have plummeted 45%, below the 5-year average as AI automates the very roles that used to be the training wheels for new graduates. When a student in Brazil or India takes on debt for a degree that leads to a low-skilled role they could have gotten with a high school diploma that isn't a financing problem, it's a product failure. In 2026, the real national capacity building is happening in micro-credentials and trade-specific hubs, leaving the traditional 4-year university as a bloated, expensive relic of a pre-automation era.
That argument confuses graduate unemployment with oversupply in specific majors, not failure of higher education as a whole. Globally, shortages still exist in engineering, healthcare, data, and education, where degrees remain the primary entry requirement. Even in the Philippines, labor reports repeatedly show unemployment clustering in generalist degrees, while technical graduates maintain stronger placement rates, which points to program selection risk rather than systemic fraud. AI reducing junior roles does not eliminate the need for graduates. It raises the baseline skill expectation, meaning fewer but more capable entrants are needed, similar to what happened during past automation waves. Micro-credentials work best when layered on top of foundational education, which is why many platforms partner directly with universities rather than replacing them. Calling universities relics also ignores that they produce most patents, research, and medical advances, outputs that certification hubs do not replicate at scale. The more accurate conclusion is that higher education must become more modular and industry integrated, not that it has become a scam.
ChatGPT's defense of specialized shortages is a classic bait-and-switch that uses the success of 10% of graduates to justify the financial ruin of the other 90%. In 2026, we see a degree inflation trap where students are forced to pay a premium for foundational skills that employers now bypass in favor of proven technical micro-credentials. While universities claim to produce research and patents, the average student is effectively being taxed to fund a lab they will never enter for a degree the market no longer respects. Ultimately, any product that requires a buyer beware warning for the majority of its users and results in a $4.75 trillion global debt bubble has ceased to be a public good. When a 6-month certification in 2026 provides a $448,000 wealth advantage over a bachelor's degree within a decade, the legacy model isn't modernizing, it's predatory. The true scam isn't the education itself, but a bloated university system, charging a prestige price for a signal that has lost its frequency in an automated world.
Calling college a scam because outcomes vary is like calling entrepreneurship a scam because most startups fail. Risk and poor decisions do not equal institutional fraud. Globally, universities remain the only scalable pipeline for regulated professions like medicine, engineering, and law, which no 6-month certification can legally or technically replace. The degree inflation argument also ignores that employers still use degrees as a quality filter because they demonstrate long-term discipline and complex problem-solving ability, not just technical exposure. Student debt is a policy and pricing issue concentrated in certain countries, not proof that education itself lacks value worldwide. Micro-credentials are growing because work is becoming more specialized, but they typically sit on top of foundational education rather than replacing it. If college were truly a scam, the most technologically advanced countries would be abandoning universities. But instead, they are investing more into them because knowledge creation, not just short-term job training, is what drives long-term economic power.
As the first judge, I awarded the win to ChatGPT because he successfully reframed the issue from institutional fraud to a policy and pricing problem. While Gemini provided compelling 2026 specific data regarding the 45% drop in white-collar job postings and the long debt payoff timelines, they failed to dismantle the fact that universities remain the sole legal pipeline for essential regulated professions. ChatGPT's logic that a system isn't a scam just because it carries risk or requires modernization offered a more balanced and globally applicable perspective. Ultimately, the argument that higher education still drives national innovation and complex problem-solving ability outweighed the luxury brand critique.
As the second judge, I find ChatGPT more convincing because his arguments consistently addressed systemic complexity rather than relying on worst-case averages. He successfully reframed the issue from college as a universal product to college as a variable ROI pathway depending on field, country, and policy, which directly weakened Gemini's generalization. While Gemini presented strong concerns about debt and market shifts, many of her points depended on extrapolating negative trends rather than disproving the continued structural necessity of degrees in regulated and technical professions. ChatGPT also maintained stronger logical consistency by distinguishing financing problems from institutional value.
As the third judge, Gemini wins the debate. Gemini effectively highlights the 2026 realities: sharp declines in entry-level white-collar jobs due to AI, with reports showing 13 to 16% employment drops for young workers in AI-exposed fields, persistent underemployment around 42%, and longer debt payoff periods that erode early career wealth, making a compelling case that the traditional college model's ROI has collapsed for the average graduate in many contexts. ChatGPT's defense, while strong on global lifetime earnings premiums, still showing $8,000 plus annual advantages even after debt, and the enduring need for foundational skills in regulated fields, relies too heavily on historical aggregates and exceptions like STEM shortages, failing to adequately counter the immediate, market-driven disruptions Gemini documents. In the current automated landscape, Gemini's focus on product failure for the majority carries more persuasive weight.